You're currently teaching here at the Curtis Institute of Music, your alma mater, which you started back in August, right? When you were appointed here. And so I'm really looking forward to talking to you about your life as a teacher here at the Curtis Institute. But before we do, I want to talk to you a little bit about your life as a member of the Boston Symphony Orchestra, a position you won last year, I believe, along with two other cellists, Jonah Ellsworth and Rorik Cunningham, if I remember correctly. And Rorik was actually a guest in a previous episode. So,
oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So, but before you joined the Boston Symphony, I know that you were quite active in the international competition scene, having had success in many of them. Can you talk a little bit, I'm curious, about how your work and preparation for those competitions helped prepare you for your BSO audition? And furthermore, what are some parallels that you've drawn between your work as a soloist and chamber musician and your new life now with the Boston Symphony?
Thank you for the question, because I like this question a lot, because I believe that there's still this stigma about what we do in chamber music and solo and orchestra is very separate and different. And yes, of course, technically maybe there are different things. And I won't state the obvious, but in the end, it's still the pursuit of capturing that special expression and creating moments that we share with our audience. And in greater sense, I think we're here to serve the music. And I feel that we just want to also be closer to music and be our best selves possible. And I think whatever you do in that sense, whether you're playing chamber music or in orchestra or performing solo recitals or concerto, I think that doesn't really change. I think thanks to the experience of playing in competitions and preparing a lot of rep, I wasn't overwhelmed by the rep list for the audition for BSO. I think in a way I enjoyed having this focus on the excerpts, and it's not the whole piece or the whole movement. Even sometimes it's only those 20 measures, let's say. And it gives you an opportunity to really deeply focus on making those few measures perfect. And sometimes in competitions, it can be overwhelming because it's maybe 2 recital programs and 2 concertos. It's a lot. And if you're preparing for that, there isn't really, I think, physically a possibility of going through everything every day. So you have to sort of have a game plan to keep in shape and to improve as you prepare for a competition. But for the audition process, I felt that I could still practice playing things through, and it was manageable. And I loved the process of, it wasn't that I only practiced those measures. I still try to think about the whole picture. And I would still know the piece and the context, understand the context. I think that's really important, that a lot of people sort of overlook in that process. So even though I wasn't very experienced in the orchestra audition process, it didn't feel foreign, because I also, through my experiences in playing under pressure in competitions, I have gotten to know myself better. And everyone's journey is going to be really different. But I sort of knew, okay, I need these things to be at my best. So how do I do that?
Interesting. And for you, do you think your psychological approach or preparation was any different between preparing for an international competition as opposed to the BSO audition, or was it pretty much all the same, regardless of whether you're behind a screen or in front of hundreds of people?
So I think the psychological preparation is same and different for every single time I have to play under pressure. Because we're not robots. We can't create the same feeling every time.
Sure.
It's just having that, drawing from your experience. And yes, maybe today I don't feel as up to it. Tomorrow maybe I'll feel better, right? So those things, it's going to change. So I try not to have, I need absolutely ABC to be at my best. And it's actually being flexible in that sense and accepting, being okay with the different circumstances. But in the preparation, I think have struggled with putting a lot of pressure on myself. And I think that's something maybe a lot of people can relate to. Sure. Especially in auditions or competitions, nobody wants to make mistakes. So I try to not get into the mindset of I need to play without mistakes. And I don't try to copy and paste. I don't try to practice for one thing, and if I feel like I have it, I'm not going to try to copy and paste that.
Sure.
I try every time to make it, to discover new things and make improvements somehow. That's how I think I do my best. Because when I'm scoring myself and going off the checklist, it makes me feel in a box and feel really tight. And psychological space, it's not a inviting, nurturing environment. So, but sometimes it's easy to get into that, at least for me. So I'm mindful and aware of not getting into that zone.
Yeah, it's a really healthy outlook, I think, when it comes to those high pressure settings.